was reading this paper, and there's an article on the new privacy law in Minnesota that goes into effect on July 31st of next year, 2025. And it's called, I don't know if they're calling it MNCDPA or or if it's MNCDPA. I don't know. But this is something that's direly needed. Basically, the issue has to do with, for example, like my data, right? The consumer, your data is not protected by these businesses. So you go and you buy a couch, let's say, and the person at the business processes, your information and everything like that. Someone could call and say, I am such and such, whatever, whatever. I remember buying a couch on such and such a date. Can you give me this whatever particular information? And people are like, oh, yeah, sure, absolutely. This actually happened to us, and it's happened a lot. Let me just put it this way. It's happened a lot. But the one that's most notable that happened is when, we had paid a fence company to come and put in a fence back in 2015 when we first bought our house. Fast forward to 2 or 3 years later from that, the one of our direct neighbors, we're in the middle of a row of 3 neighbors, and there's, I guess, folks in the back, but there's vegetation and trees, so I don't really consider that. But anyhow, that individual ended up calling the fencing company, and they provided that neighbor with which engineer or surveyor we used that they had recommended, so the surveyor that works with them, and you can see it that way, and they provided them all this information, and of course, the neighbors who had been maintaining, I believe they still maintain that our fence is on their property and should be torn down, ended up contacting that surveyor, and I don't know what they said to that surveyor, and it caused this huge ordeal where I ended up, the surveyor immediately, I think he figured out what had happened a little bit too late. So he ended up immediately, pulling out from whatever they were trying to use him to do. And then I don't know what happened, honestly. It was so strange because somehow I ended up with, criminal charges. No, really. And then it was like, oh, no, this is a civil matter after all, after going to court and hearings. And then I just had to have a case for defamation because, unfortunately, at that time, I don't know what was going on with the same neighbor, but they ended up sending an email to city council talking about, I guess, their views on what I wear at my house. And the most famous one is that somehow, there's string bikinis that were involved, and I'm twerking on my husband, dancing suggestively, and it was insane. And therefore, I am not a person of good character or something, or that could represent the community of St. Anthony Village. It was crazy. But anyway, so that, obviously, and do I even have a degree? I'm not even a doctor. I'm not even married. It was really like it's one of those things that for me it's kind of like, oh wow, okay. But I didn't realize the seriousness of it. You know what I mean? For like to the point of defamation, right? Because it's like it doesn't matter to me what a neighbor thinks of me in that um it is their opinion, right? And everyone's entitled to have opinions. And so if I were to spend my time trying to manage people's opinions, um, I would be mentally ill, like that's just not a healthy thing. So that's how I took it. That's how I take everything, honestly, when it's just opinions like that and rumors and things like that. So anyway, um, was a good resolution in my favor, at the end of it. And however, as the rumors, anyway, I'm going on and on with the testimony. The point is these privacy laws and how it started. And so it's a good thing because it will prevent this type of scenario from happening um, to other people as of July 31st, 2025, when there are standards in place in the state of Minnesota that the people's attorney, whoever that ends up being, right now it's our Attorney General, Mr. Ellison, and his whole office, advocating for us. He's the people's, attorney. So I'm glad about that for people who something like that would be even more devastating than it has been, for me, to the point where it's completely like debilitating. Like they can't do anything of importance in their life, however whatever they deem that to be. And so I'm really happy about that particular law. It's basically really standard. You need to have a designated individual at your business, such as a chief privacy officer, who looks over the policies, who is the go-to person when somebody calls in and says, hey, you've breached my privacy by providing my personal data that I provided to you, to, I don't know, those data brokers, they sell they buy your information, they create all these profiles, and then like there's cookies and all of that stuff, right? That certain countries in Europe have protected their I guess I don't want to say constituents, but we don't really have that in the United States on a national level. There's not like a national privacy law, but there are certain states who have implemented their own privacy laws, and now Minnesota joins those ranks, and it really is exciting. It is exciting. Um, my minor for I'm sorry, I have like Invisalign, so it's hard to talk, right? The air doesn't go through the teeth. But my minor for my JD at St. Thomas Law was ethical compliance and organizational and ethical compliance. And part of that had to do with learning about data privacy, like my final semester in law school. I learned about like just the laws, data privacy laws, and I learned about technology, right? With what's out there in the Internet of Things, and it was really awesome to have that exposure because, as a lot of you know, my husband does, he's IT, and he does like like security like I don't want to say cybersecurity, but it really is that he does, and so but it's a mixture, it's a combination. But anyway, this is his stuff, like regulations, things like that, and company compliance, ethical compliance. So it's really interesting and exciting that I do have an interest in this, you know what I mean? And this is what he does. I don't know what that means together for anything as far as like when people make plans about the future, but I really do think that if this is a requirement, then it opens up doors for, actually, it creates those jobs, and it allows people, like it basically kind of forces companies to train somebody, um, or to have somebody who's trained on site, and it makes them accountable, right, for things that happen, such as the example that I gave that happened to me. And I won't go into the effect that it had, but if people are interested, let me know, and I'll post this live. Okay. Bye. I don't know how to stop it. Oh, what is this? A poll? Child, I know I'm struggling.